I am Noah's first love. Sitting in front of me at this moment is Noah's fiancée Luna, the daughter of the chairman of a certain jewelry group. She looks at me as if facing a great enemy. I calmly clink glasses with her. What is first love? That's just staying in a small pond for a long time when you are young and haven't seen something better. Miss Luna is the better one. Luna smiles with relief, and there are almost the words sensible on her forehead. I think in my heart, fool, in a few days, you will have to call me Mom. Hashtag chapter 1 I am a reborn person. Hashtag I am a reborn person. In my previous life, I died at Noah and Luna's wedding. At that time, I was not a first love at all. At most, I was a grain of leftover white rice on the clothes. I was tied up and locked in the men's restroom of the hotel. My mouth was wrapped with white adhesive tape all the way to the back of my head. Around me were dirty men with sinister smiles. I heard the wedding march, played by the piano in the banquet hall. I heard Noah and Luna read their wedding vows. I heard the thumping sound of my head hitting the wall. Later, Luna walked into the men's restroom in a red cheongsam and high heels and grabbed my neck. Ava, do you really think Noah loves you? Believe it or not, even if I kill you, he won't dare to fart. I believe it. Otherwise, my parents wouldn't lose their jobs for no reason, and my younger brother wouldn't be lame in one leg. I rushed to their wedding just to ask Noah for an explanation. I believe it. Because I didn't even see Noah for the last time. Because I really died, and my death was extremely ugly. I was reborn on a weekend in the second semester of high school. On that day, Noah came to break up with me and said that he liked someone else. I was out of my mind and cut my wrist and committed suicide. When I woke up again, the 18-year-old me who should have been on the hospital bed was replaced by a 25-year-old heart. My father stood in the corner and sighed. My mother held my hand and cried hard, "Daughter, why are you so stupid?" My younger brother leaned next to my mother and cried in sobs. Noah stood at the head of the bed and looked at me with red eyes, full of guilt in his eyes. "Mom and Dad, I'm sorry to scare you." I was extremely calm. "I want to change a new blade for Dad's razor. I accidentally cut my hand." "Nonsense." My mother cried even harder and took out the suicide note I wrote tremblingly. I remember that suicide note. Every word was my love for Noah. It was ridiculously naive. On that day, my hand was receiving a blood transfusion and I had no strength at all, but I insisted on tearing up the suicide note. Said it was just for fun and had nothing to do with Noah at all. Noah looked at me gratefully. Why be grateful? Because when I was in a coma, my parents beat and scolded him and scared him, saying that if I died, they would take him to be buried with me. Now that I'm not dead and I've cleared him of this matter. The next day, Noah came to the hospital to see me. When there was no one around, I told him, "Don't come again in the future. We've already broken up. I wish him and Luna a long life together." He said I was satirizing him. It is indeed satire. The families are not well matched. Luna is a standard socialite. Their family is an absolute wealthy family not only in City S but also in the whole country. As for Noah, except for his good looks, he is only good at being the main force of the school basketball team. His parents are assembly line workers in a certain manufacturing enterprise. One is a team leader and the other is an ordinary worker. His family background is not as good as mine. At that time, in the Provincial Middle School Basketball League, our school competed with Luna's school. Luna took a fancy to Noah and confessed her love after the game. Noah thought for 2 hours. To be exact, he spent 2 hours inquiring about Luna's identity and then agreed. As his official girlfriend, I only found out the next day. He said that he had accepted someone else. Hashtag chapter 2 I became Noah's first love. Hashtag men are actually quite cheap. He proposed the breakup. I just passively agreed. Maybe it was because after waking up, the breakup was too straightforward and didn't meet his expectations at all. Unexpectedly, he still misses me. He dates Luna on weekends, goes to parks, shopping malls, watches movies and attends parties. Usually he comes to tease me. In the morning, he goes to the downstairs of my house and wants to go to school with me and brings me soy milk and steamed buns. After school, he insists on sending me home. After class, he pretends to borrow my notes. I refuse them all. Ava, let's not break up, okay? Sorry, I feel sick just looking at you. I will never forget how I died. In this life, the most important thing for me is to take revenge. I study desperately. In this society, studying is the only way to cross classes. I rushed from an average student to a top student. In the college entrance examination, I was admitted to the best university in the country with the second highest score in the province. I chose the finance department. In my senior year, I applied to a prestigious university in the UK for graduate school with a full scholarship. Noah would leave messages on my QQ from time to time, expressing his longing and complaining about Luna's willfulness. Since then, I have become Noah's first love. This time I returned to China purely to accompany my boyfriend to their wedding. It is still that hotel, the place where I died in my previous life, so embarrassed and extremely humiliating. In this life, I am accompanied by Noah's heaven, Luna's father. I am dressed in high-end custom-made clothes all over. I walk into the hotel amid the envious and flattering gazes of countless people. Ava. When Noah saw me, his expression was truly remarkable. Luna beside him was equally astonished, her mouth wide open, her gaze shifting back and forth between me and her father. Why are you here? Noah stammered as he spoke. To accompany Asher and witness your wedding. Luna's father is named Asher. I deliberately showed off the large diamond ring Asher gave me. From now on, you'll have to call me Aunt. Come on, call me and let me hear. When did you seduce my dad? Luna suppressed her voice, her eyes almost spitting fire. Her little fist was tightly clenched. If it weren't for the numerous guests around, I estimate she would have punched me. What seduction? We are all women. Don't use such unpleasant words. I smiled, pretended to affectionately dust off the non-existent dust on her shoulder, and then glanced at Asher again. Your father and I are attracted to each other. We've been together for a long time. I didn't expect you to know my daughter. Asher suddenly said. I raised an eyebrow. This man, when giving me the diamond ring, asked me if I wanted Noah and Luna to call me Mom. Now, what's with the pretense? Yes, I didn't expect either. Luna is your daughter. The world is really so small. Could this be the so-called fate? Certainly. Asher replied with 2 words, his eyes seemingly smiling yet not smiling. Turning to Luna and Noah, he said, haven't you two gone to greet the guests yet? Those 2 people, one suppressing resentment and the other suppressing pain, left reluctantly. I watched their backs and sneered inwardly. But suddenly, the back of my hand became warm. Looking down, I saw Asher holding my hand. Immediately afterwards, his breath fell on my earlobe, and his voice was extremely low. Ava, you are my woman now. Look at me. I responded with an and stood on tiptoe, boldly kissing him on the lips. He pursed his lips and looked at me, not disliking my lipstick at all. Looking at his lips that had reddened a bit, I immediately laughed. In my previous life, I only had Noah in my eyes. Not only did I implicate my family, but I also ended up in a tragic situation. Honestly speaking, Asher is much better than Noah. Rich, good at maintaining himself, with taste, understanding women. More importantly, he has an excellent figure. Chapter 3 New wedding ceremony The bride and groom greet the guests. Asher, as the bride's father, naturally also has to greet the guests. I accompany him, enjoying extreme honor. The words of praise for me are even more than wishing the bride and groom 100 years of happiness. I've been smiling all the time, and I can always feel the envious gaze from the bride not far away. What should we do? You seem to have stolen the limelight from the bride. Asher leaned slightly and asked me with a smile. Yes, what should we do? I frowned and smiled, kicking the ball back and casually giving a pleasing answer. Who told me that my man is better than her man? Asher laughed heartily and stopped greeting guests. Instead, he pulled me to take a seat. Hey, is Luna really your biological daughter? Based on my understanding of Asher, he really doesn't seem like someone who is led astray by lust. But in some aspects, he is indeed even better to me than to his daughter. He didn't answer my question. Instead, he lowered his head and peeled a few boiled peanuts for me. This is a dish added temporarily. On the way here, when I saw someone selling boiled peanuts by the roadside and casually mentioned that I wanted to eat them, I then heard him call the name of his secretary sitting in the front row. There is a segment in the wedding. The father personally hands over his daughter to the son-in-law. Don't run around. There are many wolves. Asher affectionately pinched my hand and then got up and left. I watched his back and then heard Noah's mother beside me let out a cold snort. She spoke in a sarcastic tone. He could be your father. What were you thinking? Abandoned by my Noah, you don't have to be so desperate, do you? I glanced at the famous brand clothes on her body. That kind of earthiness that can't be hidden no matter what one wears. Then I stopped looking at her and continued to look in the direction where Asher had left. Then, why don't you ask Mr. Asher in person later? What was he thinking when he found a woman who could be his daughter? I was certain that she wouldn't dare to ask. It's all because of youth. Noah's mother's eyes were full of blatant ridicule. Who among the rich doesn't like to find young girls? It's just for a few days of fun. I advise you to recognize your own worth early and stop daydreaming. I didn't refute. I just showed off my large diamond ring and propped up my chin. Out of the corner of my eye, Noah's mother's eyes were fixed. The one on Luna's hand isn't as big as mine. Luna was holding Asher's arm. Amidst the wedding march, she gracefully walked towards Noah in the middle of the stage. I looked at the three people who were the most important to me on the stage, 2 enemies and 1 tool. I spoke slowly one by one. I heard that Miss Luna from that family has a bad temper. When things don't go her way, scolding and hitting are the norm. In serious cases, she doesn't treat people as human beings at all. Alas, this marriage is not well matched. Noah marrying into Asher's family, I'm afraid. I didn't finish my words when Noah's mother was already enraged. With a slap, she slapped the table. Many people around looked over. She was extremely embarrassed and quickly apologized with a smile. Sorry, I got excited. When the people around turned their gazes back to the stage, she continued, staring at me and speaking in a low voice full of anger. What marrying into Asher's family? Noah is taking a wife. Ava, don't spread rumors here. Luna is much better than you. At least she doesn't have such lofty aspirations and do the ugly thing of clinging to a rich man. Also, aren't you afraid that I'll tell my in-laws what you just said? I gave her a glance and a smile. What words? That Luna has a bad temper? Coincidentally, it was Mr. Asher who said it. When she was 12 years old, she trampled to death the cat she had raised for 3 years. When she was 15 years old, she accidentally poked out the servant's eye and compensated 300,000 yuan. When she was 19 years old, she drove drunk and killed an old person. Later, she still found someone to take the blame for her, thus avoiding prison. Noah's mother's face became even more unsightly. She probably never dreamed that Luna had such a glorious past. Of course, these things were not told to me by Asher. Instead, in my previous life, I went to inquire about them out of jealousy. Noah knows everything, yet he still wants to marry. For him, Luna is his shortcut to the upper class and the best opportunity to turn his life around. As for marrying or being married, I said slowly. Don't you have any idea? Where will they live in the future? At Noah's house? The whole world knows that your son is marrying into a wealthy family. In terms of economic strength, Asher's family and Noah's family are completely from 2 different worlds. Luna and Noah's mother knows exactly whose money is mainly used whether they are getting married or in a relationship. Whether in the past life or in this life, Noah's mother not only strongly supports Noah's relationship with Luna but also shows off in front of my parents again and again. My Noah is going to marry a phoenix. Your girl is just a pheasant. Noah must be blind to be with your daughter. I am against it anyway. She can't enter our Noah's family. Is it amazing to be admitted to Tsinghua University or Peking University? Is going abroad amazing? You two old people must have spent a lot of money, right? After coming out, aren't you still working for others? My Noah is different. Once he marries Luna, he will be the son-in-law of the Asher family. The entire Asher family will be his in the future. I retorted to Noah's mother just to vent my anger for my parents. Hashtag chapter 4 Just be satisfying hashtag on the stage. There are two equally tall and straight men. One is in his early 20s, and the other is over 40. The one over 40 is in no way inferior to young people in terms of figure, and his temperament is even far ahead. I once asked this man, "How did you do it?" "Many people are already pot-bellied before they are 30. He pinched my chin. "People who can't even control their own bodies, how can they control their lives?" And you? Remembering his flirtatious tone at that time, I couldn't help but want to laugh. Then I saw him walk down from the stage and sit next to me. "What are you giggling about?" "I saw you smiling like a silly spore on the stage." While asking, he peeled peanuts for me. "You are the one who looks like a silly spore." I was clearly feeling proud. While speaking, I glanced at Noah's mother and then leaned closer to Asher. "My taste is much better than your daughter's." Ever since Noah's mother saw me, her complexion has never been good. At this moment, it is even more like constipation. Asher seemed not to notice my little tricks and just smiled dotingly. "Naughty." "Naughty? What is naughty?" How could an adult's naughtiness be just a few words? I soon reinterpreted it for him with practical actions. When the master of ceremonies on the stage asked, "Does the groom agree to marry the bride?" I sighed slightly and raised my hand. My fingertip passed under my eyelid as if wiping away tears. Sure enough, someone on the stage hesitated. "I am his first love now." He looked in my direction. "What's wrong?" Asher put his arm around my waist and leaned closer, full of possessiveness. "Nothing." I know Asher's bottom line. Although he is willing to spoil me, it doesn't mean he will let me ruin this wedding. I spread out my fingers and revealed an eyelash that I had prepared. Just now an eyelash got into my eye. It has been taken out. Asher, using the hand that was around my waist, take advantage of the situation, caught my hand. On the stage, the master of ceremonies asked for the second time, "Does the groom agree to marry the bride?" Only then did Noah hurriedly answer, "Yes, yes." The master of ceremonies made a few jokes to cover up the embarrassment. Luna's eyes were like knives, shooting at me from time to time. Noah's mother didn't look at the stage anymore. She just stared at me fiercely, fearing that I would cause any more trouble. What kind of trouble could I cause? At most, when Noah and Luna were pouring champagne into the tower, I turned sideways and kissed Asher on the lips. As far as the eye could see, Noah's mother's eyes were almost popping out. Luna was even more out of control than Noah. She staggered directly. Noah didn't hold her. Only a crisp sound was heard, followed by a clattering sound. The entire champagne tower was destroyed. The master of ceremonies kept saying, "Broken for good fortune," and secretly looked at me and Asher. I was secretly proud. At the same time, I was also mentally prepared. Asher should push me away and give me a warning look by the way. But I didn't expect that the hand on my waist not only didn't loosen but became even tighter. He responded to my kiss. I no longer had any extra energy to pay attention to other people or things. There was only Asher's face in front of me, and I only felt countless gazes sweeping over me. It's just like having thorns on one's back. The limelight of the wedding was completely stolen by me. Asher kissed for a long time before he let go. With a cold look and displeasure in his eyes, I had touched his bottom line. "Are you satisfied now?" His cold voice. Obviously, he was the one who was kissing passionately just now. I just pressed against him. However, with powerful people, you can't reason. I know very well that his next sentence must be, "Get out." So, before he spoke again, I picked up my small clutch bag. "Sorry, I'll take my leave first." The moment I stood up, he grabbed my wrist with a strong pull. I felt a sharp pain in my ankle and fell into his arms. Want to escape? His voice was above my head, low and full of power. After ruining Luna's wedding, you want to escape? I didn't know how to answer. Then I heard him continue, sit still obediently. Well, as long as he doesn't drive me away, as long as I stay by his side, there will be more opportunities for revenge. Enduring the piercing pain in my ankle, I sat down next to him again. Noah's mother, on the other hand, changed her constipated expression and looked at me. Be proud of oneself. I am now a cat with broken claws. I can't scratch people. I can only be sulky and endure it. Humph. Noah's mother sneered and was about to speak one by one. Asher glanced at Noah's mother with dignity. My fiancé is a bit naughty. What? Does the in-law have any objections? What can Noah's mother say? She can only keep saying, no objections. Her look at me has changed again. With Asher's support, I am radiant from inside to outside. My back is straight. I have a smile. When I look at Noah's mother, my momentum completely overwhelms her. Asher looks at me with contempt. I guess he is thinking in his heart, give a little sunshine and you'll open a dyeing workshop. However, it doesn't matter. As long as it's cool. Hashtag chapter 5 A little sweet hashtag. The ceremony was completed in embarrassment. Luna and Noah came to toast. Luna sarcastically called out, "Little Mom." I shamelessly answered yes, and leaned a little towards Asher's direction by the way. Noah looked at me and couldn't utter a word for half a day. I don't care. I picked up my wine glass and clinked it on Luna's glass. Lovers will eventually get married. Luna is the most suitable one for Mr. Noah. I wish you a harmonious marriage and a long life together. Noah's eyes darkened again and again. Luna stepped hard on his foot with her high heels and turned around and left. Noah quickly followed. Noah's parents were full of worry on their faces and their eyes followed them closely. After Asher only took 2 glances, he said, "Luna has been spoiled by me for a long time. Please be more understanding in the future." He said apologetic words, but there was not the slightest apology in his tone. I have known him for a long time and once asked him indirectly about his impression of his son-in-law. Not only is he dissatisfied with Noah, but he is even more dissatisfied with Luna. In his opinion, Luna should accept his arrangement and marry the son of one of his friends to achieve a strong business alliance. To put it bluntly, it is a business marriage. His reasons are very sufficient. First, being born in a family like theirs, the responsibility for family interests is greater than that of ordinary families. Second, if Luna is outstanding in ability and extraordinary in business means, it would be fine. But for so many years, she is not good at studying and her ability is average. Since her ability is average, then she should make efforts in marriage and marry someone who is not inferior to their family. At worst, choose someone with strong ability. As a result, what does Noah have? Except for a good-looking face and being able to play basketball, he has nothing. Not to mention Tsinghua University and Peking University, he didn't even get into a 985 or 211 university. He just got an ordinary undergraduate degree. I said that he is blatantly discriminating against those with poor grades. He replied to me, education is the simplest way to screen people. Third, Luna has been spoiled since childhood. As a person, she lacks the most basic empathy and is extremely good at getting into trouble. If she marries into a wealthy family and really does something wrong, her husband's family and Asher's family can still protect her. But if she marries Noah, in addition to a lot of poor relatives, there is no help at all. Fourth, Noah can't control Luna. After marriage, it must be a situation where women are stronger than men. The marriage may not last long. There was also one thing that happened that day. A trivial little thing. Now that I think about it, it's a little sweet. After the wedding banquet was over, Asher stood up. I didn't move and sat on the chair. "Aren't you leaving? Haven't you had enough?" He stretched out a hand and steadily placed it in midair, indicating that I should go with him. "You go first. I'll sit for a while longer." I looked up at him. First, my ankle hurt so badly that I needed to take off my shoes and take a look when there was no one around. Second, I wanted to go home and see my parents and my younger brother. I miss them. He thought for a moment and condescendingly squatted in front of me, lifted my skirt and exposed my ankle. Why is it so swollen? He frowned and carefully took off my high heels for me. Is it because of the pull I gave before? He looked up at me and his voice softened a bit more. Why didn't you say anything? Perhaps the distress in his eyes was too obvious. At that moment, a few pangs of grievance suddenly arose in my heart. Your precious daughter is getting married. I've already caused 2 disturbances. How dare I cause a third one? He laughed. You also know that you are causing disturbances? He picked me up horizontally and scolded with a smile. You deserve it. Where are you taking me? To the hospital. He said, first go for an X-ray to see if there is any injury to the bone. From now on, if something like this happens, tell me immediately, okay? At that moment, I was in great pain and also wanted to cry very much. In my previous life, if there was someone who treated me like this, I wouldn't have died so miserably. Asher. Thank you. Silly. ## Chapter 6 Memories ## Asher and I met abroad. I knew who he was when I saw him. At that time, I never thought of being his girlfriend. I hate Luna and I also hate Asher. What kind of good person can give birth to and raise a daughter like Luna who has no regard for the law? Coincidentally, he is my senior. Not only a senior from that first-class university in China, but also a senior from the Ivy League school where I am studying for my graduate degree. My educational trajectory is surprisingly the same as his. After that, whenever he came to the UK, he would invite me to have a meal. After a few times, something indescribable happened between me and him. His physical strength was incredible. That night, I endured silently, but in my heart there was a sense of revengeful pleasure. Luna snatched my boyfriend. I slept with her dad. Is this your first time? Asher was very surprised. This is indeed my first time in this life. I haven't been in a relationship since being reborn. I have spent all my time and energy on studying. Don't worry. I won't pester you. I could barely even sit up, but still said very proudly while putting on my clothes, whether you consider it a fleeting affair or just acting on the occasion, it doesn't matter. He leaned against the bathroom door, looking at me, raised his eyebrows, and after a long while said, how about considering it? I'm single. Single? Now it's my turn to be surprised. President, don't joke around, okay? Your daughter is as old as me, you tell me you're single. In my previous life, I didn't pay attention to Asher. In this life, because we have interactions, I looked up some information about him. It's basically about business. His business concepts and methods. Unexpectedly, he revealed a big bombshell in terms of his relationship. Except for being a bit older, I should be fine in other aspects. He said. I looked at his Apollo's belt and abdominal muscles above the bath towel and felt that his words, should be fine, were a bit modest. So I replied, I'll consider it. He naturally took my words, consider it, as agreed. After that, his frequency of going to the UK increased significantly, saying it was to explore the market. I suspect that what he is exploring is not the market but me. Because most of the time he is with me. As for the market, he gave it to me, saying it was for me to practice. The main battlefield of his family's jewelry is in China, and the foreign share is extremely low. I didn't refuse. First, as long as I am with him, I have a feeling of getting revenge on Luna. Second, I need to understand their company. Luna and Noah are both in his company. Third, he gave me something that I haven't felt for a long time, something like love. The longing of the skin is as intense as the longing of the heart. Until half a month ago, after he finished exercising, he took out a diamond ring from under the pillow and put it on my finger, saying that Luna and Noah will have a wedding soon, and asked me if I wanted to hear them call me Mom. It should be very interesting? I stared at him in a daze. He knows? Don't you think that when Luna is dating a boyfriend, I wouldn't even inquire about the other party's past, he asked me and kissed my forehead. The first time I saw you, I knew it was you. He paused. He is not worthy of you. I also know that Noah is not worthy of me. What I can't forget is not that he abandoned me, but my death. Put on the ring and attend the wedding with me? Asher's voice was by my ear, low and alluring. Ava, you will be happy. I agreed. There is nothing wrong with my foot. It's just a sprained ligament and bleeding in the soft tissue. It just looks terrifying. When I came out of the hospital, I wanted to go home, but he wouldn't allow it. Stay at my house for a few days first. Go back when you're better. Otherwise, your parents will think I bullied you. You've been back in the country for so long and you don't even know where your boyfriend's house is. How can you be such an unqualified girlfriend? I thought that after coming back, there would be good morning kisses and good night kisses every day. As a result, I can't even see anyone. You haven't tasted the breakfast I made, right? Master level. Do you want to try it? Asher drove himself. I sat in the passenger seat and unconsciously rotated the diamond ring he gave me. Return it or not? He glanced at me as if guessing what I was thinking. Keep wearing it. It's not worth much. I looked at him in surprise. Such a big diamond, even bigger than the one Luna will wear for her wedding. You tell me it's not worth much. You are at least a domineering president. Is it interesting to give a fake one? It's real. He guessed what I was thinking again. I mean, the diamond itself is not worth much. It's just a stone. Capital makes it seem precious. I'm too lazy to talk to him and turned to look out the window. Don't I understand this principle? He smiled and put his right hand on the back of my left hand. Ava, have you heard a saying? It's easy to get 1,000 pieces of gold treasure, but hard to get a loving man. I looked back and rolled my eyes at him. General Manager Asher, could it be that you are a hidden love brain? He pursed his lips. Looking ahead, pretending to drive attentively. ## Chapter 7 He is not old. ## My relationship with Asher was known by my mother that very night. At that time, I was being spoiled and was pressing him on the sofa. I was looking down at him arrogantly and unreasonably saying that he scared me at the wedding. Obviously, I was just pretending to kiss him. It was he who took the initiative to kiss me. In the end, he glared at me with such a terrifying look. I thought he would at least apologize and say some sweet words. But, just pretending? As expected of a domineering president. Even though he is below, his voice is very soft, but his aura is very high. Just by raising his eyebrows, he conveys his displeasure vividly. Was this person jealous at that time? My survival instinct instantly burst forth. I quickly pressed my mouth to his again. That was in public. I said coquettishly. I only have the intention but not the courage. The soft lips touched his every time I said a word. I have many doubts. For example, when exactly did I get on this ship? For example, I was clearly only for revenge. Why do I care about his feelings? The hand on my waist was getting tighter and tighter. Asher's eyes were getting darker and darker. Now? He flipped over. I fell to the ground with him. The carpet is very soft, Ava. He leaned close to me. Beep. Beep. The phone was vibrating crazily on the sofa. Accompanying the vibration was the specific ringtone set for family members. I grabbed the phone and looked at the word "Mom" on the screen. My heart tightened. All the ambiguous elements in the air stopped pulsating. I pushed him away, sat up, and put my index finger on his lips. Shh. It's my mom's call. Someone was unsatisfied and looked at me almost resentfully. I leaned over and kissed his face. Only then did he get up and walk towards the bathroom barefoot. I looked at his long legs and smiled. Then I answered the phone. My mother's voice came from the receiver. The decibel was more than 7 times higher than usual. Sharp. She asked me if I was with Luna's father. Is it for money? Or revenge? Asher didn't go to the restroom anymore. He turned back and sat opposite me again, blatantly eavesdropping on my phone call. My mom said that no matter which one it is, one cannot use feelings as a means. She said that rich people have no conscience and mostly just play around. don't think about marrying into a wealthy family. My family can't afford it. It's better to find an ordinary family. I looked at Asher and thought to myself, I didn't think of climbing up to him either. My mom hesitated for a moment and then said that I shouldn't go back these days. Just stay outside and go back in a few days. As soon as I heard this, I knew something had happened. After repeatedly asking, my mom didn't say. As soon as I hung up the phone, I called my younger brother. My younger brother said angrily, Noah's mother just shouted downstairs and said that I was shameless and clinging to a rich man. After being abandoned by Noah, I found an old man. And she even went to make a scene at Noah's wedding. Not to mention one building, several buildings around could hear it. My family lives in a unit house. The neighbors also know each other. It's not an exaggeration to say that they've watched me grow up. No wonder my mom told me not to go back for the time being, fearing being pointed at. I said, Sister, you are at least a top student, a returnee, and also beautiful. With a casual wave of your hand, there must be at least a platoon of people chasing you, right? For so many years, for that jerk Noah, is it really so hard to let go? I didn't answer him. I just looked at Asher, feeling indignant about the words old man. After a long while, I muttered, he is not old. Huh? My younger brother was very surprised on the other end. I looked at Asher's teasing gaze. It was as if my little tail had been stepped on, and a nameless anger suddenly rose. What? I said he is not old at all. He is 100 times more handsome than that bastard Noah. Do you understand the charm of a mature man? If you don't understand, go ask our mom. My face was very hot. After finishing speaking, I hung up the phone with a snap and limped to the restroom to wash my face with cold water. When I returned to the living room again, Asher was still sitting on the ground, just changing directions. With one hand touching his chin, he looked at me. With a half smile, like an old fox. ## Chapter 8 Apology ## It was already half a month later when Luna and Noah returned from their honeymoon. During this half month, I lived at Asher's house. My foot was almost healed. I was also arranged a position in the company's marketing department by Asher under the pretext of understanding the domestic market. I suspected that his love-struck brain was acting up again. From time to time, he called me to his office, either to have a meal together or give me some instructions. Then he would hand me a small cake, watch me eat it with a smile, and then wave his hand grandly and tell me to go back to work. Actually, I was quite helpless. After all, I am also a top student. This makes me seem like an ornamental animal he keeps by his side. According to my colleagues in the marketing department, the number of meetings General Manager Asher held for them in this half month was equivalent to half a year before. They also looked at me with a smile and said that the department's performance appraisal depended on me. What can I do? Do you look like someone who is blinded by lust? On the way home, I asked him. Quite so. He replied. I was a bit speechless. Yes, my relationship with him is no secret. On the night of Noah and Luna's wedding, after Noah's mother made a scene downstairs at my house, the next day, my relationship with Asher was made public. There is a 9-square grid on Weibo. There are pictures of me and him entering the hotel side by side, him holding me and sitting together, him peeling peanuts for me eating, him squatting in front of me looking at my injured foot, princess carrying me, and kissing BBBB. According to the annual advertising investment of his family's brand, it is not difficult at all to delete or sync a few Weibo posts, but he let it go. I have carefully observed those few photos. They are finely retouched with excellent angles. Even the eyes are very in place, full of tenderness and affection. Someone is extremely handsome. The comment area is full of cries of being shown affection. My mom doesn't object anymore. She said that he looks like a certain star. That someone is the idol she liked when she was young. Now he is also middle-aged. He is a powerful actor with a great figure. Only then did I realize that my mom is a fan of good looks. My younger brother's evaluation is, well done. Beat Noah by 10 blocks. Then he secretly told me that my mom is very proud now. When she meets Noah's mother again, she directly confronts her. Do you have a cognitive bias? My Ava has such good taste. How could she possibly fall in love with your son? If Noah's mother retorts, she will add another sentence. Your son is a gigolo. Believe it or not, I will ask my son-in-law to fire your son. I repeatedly told my younger brother to remember to remind my mom all the time to be low-key. Luna and Noah were sitting in the living room. The large suitcase was placed beside them. The servants stood behind and waited on them, all silent as if frightened. Luna's face was very bad. When she saw me, she rolled her eyes hard. Noah stood up as soon as he saw us and respectfully called out, Dad. After hesitating for a moment, he called out, Miss Ava again. Asher uttered, and pulled me to sit on the sofa opposite Luna. Displeased, he said, why don't you greet people? Did your manners get eaten by dogs? Dad. Luna called out angrily. After holding back and holding back, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Pointing at me, she loudly asked Asher, why is she here? Did you let this woman who has taken over someone else's place move in? How are you talking? Asher frowned. His two legs were gracefully crossed. He placed one hand on the armrest of the sofa and the other hand steadily on my waist. His eyes swept over Luna's face, then over all the servants, and finally fell on Luna's face. With two light words, apologize. I won't apologize. Why should I apologize? Luna stuck out her neck. This woman is clearly here for revenge on me. I took her boyfriend, and she came to seduce you. Dad, over so many years, what kind of woman haven't you seen? How did you fall into her hands? When I heard, what kind of woman haven't you seen, I turned my head and raised an eyebrow to look at Asher. Asher's face showed a trace of uneasiness. Luna, what happens between you and Noah is your business. Don't drag others into everything. This is the first point. Second, what happened between Ava and Noah was in high school, right? Don't hold on to old things. If you can't let go of the past, you can't see the future. You should understand this truth. Third, I don't want anyone to interfere in my business with Ava. I especially don't want the resistance to come from my own daughter. You just need to remember that I like her. All you have to do is give blessings. If you really can't even give blessings, at least achieve, don't disturb. Do you understand? Luna looked at Asher in disbelief. Dad. You've changed. Her voice suddenly became sharp. She jumped up from the sofa. You weren't like this before. You always said that I am your favorite. You said that you wouldn't get married before I grew up. But you have already grown up. Asher had a headache from the noise and rubbed his temples. On the day of your college graduation, you had already grown up. I didn't find someone because I didn't meet the right one. Moreover, you are now married and have your own family. His tone was a bit helpless and a bit tired. Luna still couldn't understand and still shouted loudly, No, I haven't grown up. With you here, how could I grow up? I don't care. You are not allowed to look for other women. With repeated, not allows. I feel sorry for Asher and really can't listen anymore. Luna, one can't be too selfish. You shut up. Luna shouted loudly. Don't think that just because you slept with my dad for a few days. Stop. Asher's last bit of patience was finally exhausted. He glanced at Noah and stood up. You take her back. Call before you come next time. Noah had no status at all in this family. Facing Asher's order to leave, he could still only say yes. Luna burst into tears with a wow. Dad, do you not want me anymore? You don't want me for this woman. My mom didn't want me when I was very young. Do you not want me now either? You said before that in this family, there will always be a room for me at any time. Now you want to drive me away. Hashtag chapter 9 Call the police hashtag Luna finally stayed. She has her own room and has nothing to do with me. I sleep in Asher's room. However, having two annoying people at home makes people in a bad mood. Noah even found an opportunity to say a few words to me. Ava, how many years has it been since we last saw each other? How did you become like this? Mr. Noah has a bad memory. We just saw each other half a month ago, at your wedding. You weren't like this before. Ava, you were so obedient before. Tell me, you actually don't want to be with Luna's dad. You are just doing this to anger me. He looked painful. I was angered and laughed. Noah, I just don't understand. Where do you get so much confidence? Is it your face? Or is it your figure that you can only maintain by strenuous exercise? Just because Luna likes you doesn't mean I like you either. To be honest, Asher is 10,000 times better than you. His confidence comes from deep within. It is accumulated from experience and ability to a certain height, from the inside out. What about you? What do you have? Besides a wife who is a rich lady, what else do you have? If one day Luna doesn't want you anymore, you will be just a penniless and worthless pauper. If I were you, at least I wouldn't let people see at a glance that there is someone else in my heart. What is hard-won must be grasped well, right? I left after finishing speaking. What about Asher? Noah shouted loudly behind me, his words equally sarcastic. Is he also something hard-won? I stopped and smiled with my head down. Perhaps, it's love. What I couldn't get in my previous life, someone else gave me in this life. I suddenly really want to see Asher and my steps become lighter. Luna was standing at the corner. I don't know how long she had been standing there or how much she had heard. In a low voice and with gritted teeth, she said, Ava, I bet you won't have a good ending. The person my dad cares about the most will only be me, and can only be me. I think she hates me even more in this life than in the previous life. The next morning, Asher got up early as always. I was lazy in bed. He likes to go for a morning run and also likes to let me sleep a little longer. After coming back from the morning run, he wakes me up. When it's time to eat, Luna and Noah get up and come downstairs. The servant brought 4 sandwiches and 4 glasses of milk and placed them in front of the 4 of us. Oh, who made these sandwiches? The eggs are all burnt. Aunt Jean, are you treating beggars? How dare you put such things on the table? Luna's disgust was visible. She pushed the plate forward and glared at the servant who cooked. Aunt Jean opened her mouth but didn't have time to explain when Asher said steadily, make her another one. Aunt Jean said yes, and was about to take away Luna's sandwich. Give her sandwich to me. Don't waste it. I said. Aunt Jean said yes again and placed the sandwich in front of me. Luna, along with the look in her eyes when looking at me, was full of disgust. I was too lazy to pay attention to her. I took a sip of milk and lowered my head to eat the sandwich that someone called master level. Although the fried egg is a bit burnt and the toast is dry, there is a lot of shredded meat. The lettuce is quite fresh. The ham is evenly thick. There are even 2 slices of my favorite cheese specially added. After eating one, I was actually very full. I ate half of the second one. I really couldn't eat anymore, so I put it on the plate. At this moment, Asher reached out and picked up the sandwich I had left without any disgust. He finished it in a few bites. I looked at him and smiled. My heart was full of oneness. Just then, there was a creak. Luna stood up in shock. A thunderous voice sounded, Dad, how can you eat what she left over? What's wrong with eating leftovers? Asher wiped his mouth gracefully. Didn't you just hear Ava say? Don't waste. Luna couldn't understand. She shook her head and took a few steps back, looking incredulous. Dad, you've changed. We are from the upper class. How can we do such an unseemly thing? Since you've been with this woman, you've become stingy. You actually eat what others have left over. Ava is not others. Asher put the tissue on the table and looked up at Luna. His voice was still unhurried. If you're done eating, go to work. No. Luna shouted. She stared at me, her fierce gaze like a wolf. I lost something in my room. It must be stolen by this woman. Asher didn't speak. With one swift step, Luna rushed into the living room, opened my bag, and took out a gauze bag from it. Inside, there was a jingling sound, and dazzling light shone. A bag full of loose diamonds. Ava. What else can you say? Luna slammed her hands on the dining table and stared at me in an absolutely threatening posture. You seduced my dad just for our family's money. She shook the bag of diamonds, looking both smug and arrogant, and shouted, "Now we have caught you red-handed. Noah, call the police." Chapter 10 The Battlefield of Women I was shocked. This is not called being caught red-handed. This is an obvious frame-up. That bag has been there since I came home yesterday. Everyone in the villa has the opportunity to commit the crime. Does she really think the police station is hers? Noah hesitated for a moment, took out his phone, and started pressing keys. Many years ago, he chose Luna between me and Luna. Now, he still chooses Luna. I laughed and was about to unravel the situation and prove my innocence. Just then, Asher spoke. He called the butler's name, looked at his watch, and said 3 words, 5 minutes. I didn't know what 5 minutes meant, but I saw that the servants were one more nervous than the other. They looked at each other. Some people secretly ran out. In less than 5 minutes, a female servant ran in and knelt down with a thud. "Sir, please, forgive me this time." Asher waved his hand and didn't want to hear another word. He motioned for the others to pull her out. Then he looked at Luna. "If this kind of thing happens again, it will be you who is dragged out." Luna's face paled. I was very puzzled. From my observation during this period, Asher was not blindly indulgent to Luna without any bottom line. How did she develop that kind of character? So arrogant and domineering that she even dares to kill. Later, I asked Asher what 5 minutes meant. He said that in 5 minutes, either the culprit comes out on their own, or everyone leaves together. What are you going to do with that woman? The one who listened to Luna's command and framed me. Asher gave me a strange look. What can I do? Fire her. I didn't quite believe it. Judging from the servants' reactions at that time, it was not as simple as being fired. Asher added with a smile. Do you think I'm a tyrant and beat someone up? In a society ruled by law, as the boss, I really have no other way except to fire. Only in our family, if one can work until retirement, there is a considerable pension. The battle between me and Luna has been burning from home to the company. She finds fault with me everywhere and picks on me every day. She is in the brand department, and I am in the marketing department. The 2 departments are in turmoil because of her. From the perspective of everyone in the company, this is a power struggle, a struggle between the future wife of the president and his ex-wife's daughter. The top executives have taken sides one after another. Some stand by me, and some stand by Luna. For those who stand by Luna, I can guess what they are thinking. From future wife to wife, there is still a long way to go. Whether one can ascend to that position is uncertain. But a daughter is always a daughter. For those who stand by me, most of them have worked with me, especially in the marketing department. Actually, I don't like this. In any company, it is better for employees to work together as one. This is the so-called corporate culture. Once people form factions, it is endless internal friction. I don't want this because I can't bear it. If I hadn't fallen in love with Asher, I should have been happy to see it happen. I would have wished for the company to collapse. Asher is Luna's backer, and the company is her confidence. It's a pity that I have fallen in love. I can't bear it. This is his painstaking effort. I can't bear it. When I can give in, I try to back down and yield as much as possible. Does Asher know? Of course he knows. He dotes on me even more. It's not easy for him to be in the sandwich position. Both sides are dear to him. Once he supports me a little more, Luna will be even more unreasonable and no amount of reasoning will work. What he doesn't know is that there is a blood feud between Luna and me. All my concessions are just a smokescreen, just to paralyze the other side, just waiting to dig a pit and wait for her to jump in. I will destroy her with the smallest cost. Not to mention the quarterly assessment. Once this wave of activities is launched, the sales volume will definitely be more than 300% of the same period last year. The annual assessment will definitely be an S. The only thing to guard against is the competitors. Before I finished speaking, Luna walked into the tea room. I swallowed the remaining words, patted my colleague on the shoulder, and walked out together. Both the brand department and the marketing department often hold some activities. Our department aims at sales, and their department aims at brand promotion. Therefore, some activities will not be notified to each other. The activity I mentioned was reported to Asher half a month ago. Asher is very optimistic about it. Our department has also started to prepare materials, planning to take competitors by surprise during the off-season. However, on the third day before the event started, competing company Pa suddenly released a poster. The core and rhythm of the event are almost identical to ours. Even the poster elements are almost the same. Hashtag chapter 11 a plot within a plot hashtag what's going on. This is the first time I've seen Asher so furious. He threw the documents on the table onto the face of the marketing director. The director had nothing to say except, "I will thoroughly investigate this matter." The event is organized by our department. As for the plan, it has been reviewed countless times in large and small meetings, and everyone has it. As for materials and such, after they are prepared, they are directly thrown into the department group, and everyone takes what they need. There is a mole in the department. There has never been such a thing in our department. The director said. The last time company secrets were stolen was 8 years ago, in the purchasing department. In our department, except for me, everyone is a veteran employee of more than 3 years. It's not me. I immediately said. Miss Ava, I don't suspect you. The director said. During this period, how hard you have tried, all of us have seen. If it were really you who did it, it would be like lifting a rock only to drop it on your own foot. Luna has become smarter this time. At a critical moment, she didn't add insult to injury. Instead, she looked worried. No one suspects her. Even I am thinking, could the trap I set for her have caught others instead? However, it is also because of her cleverness that she didn't show her flaws too early, which led the director to call the police without hesitation. He is certain that the problem lies within the department because after checking the surveillance, there is simply no suspicious outsider. More importantly, we need to intercept the activities of competing products and launch a better strategy before their activities reach their climax. Neither he nor anyone else in the department has the time and energy to catch the mole. Round after round of brainstorming, all the key personnel in the department are working non-stop, and I, the future president's wife, am no exception. Asher didn't exercise his presidential privilege to force me to go home and sleep. Instead, he accompanied me. He would ask his secretary to order midnight snacks for us and also come downstairs to hold meetings with us. Luna would also come from time to deliver a loving meal and remind Asher to go home and rest early. On the third day, during a small department meeting, I complained that since the competing product is using our previous plan and the time is earlier than ours, then an event of the same level simply can't hold up. The director had a sudden inspiration. With me and 2 deputy directors, he went to see Asher again. That was the second set of plans I had thought of when plotting against Luna. The scale of the event is more than 10 times that of the first set of plans, and the cost is definitely more than 10 times as well. Sales and brand promotion go hand in hand. It was mentioned in a small department meeting at that time. However, at that time, the 2 departments were in the fiercest conflict and it was simply impossible to cooperate. The directors were also unwilling to take risks for fear that money would be spent but no results would be achieved. Now, it's the only way out. Asher considered for a long time before asking us to improve the plan. He also said to call the actuary to join, which is a preliminary agreement. He specially reminded, company interests come first, departmental differences aside. As he spoke, he deliberately looked at me twice more, fearing that I would be wronged in cooperating with Luna. After all, I have always put the overall situation first and been constantly making concessions. I smiled and gave him a reassured look. The police have their own ways. I don't know what methods they used. The case of commercial secret leakage was quickly solved. Unexpectedly, the one arrested is not Luna but Noah. The evidence chain of Noah exchanging property with the competing company is complete. 300,000 yuan was traded in a bar not far from the other company, and the money was transferred to Noah's Alipay. Noah readily admitted it. He asked a colleague in our department for the plan. When a colleague within the company wants to see the plan, especially if it's the president's son-in-law, people usually don't be on guard. He said that he originally wanted to look at it with Luna. Luna didn't want to see it. He was short of money, so he sold it conveniently and wanted to buy a gift for Luna. This kind of sympathetic persona may be useful in public opinion, but it is completely useless in front of the law and even more so in front of interests. Luna divorced Noah and drew a clear line at lightning speed. Ava, you didn't expect it. Your first love would treat you like this. For the sake of buying me a gift, he directly sold the painstaking efforts of your department. In the company's pantry, Luna triumphantly raised her cup towards me. Indeed, I didn't expect it. I walked over and clinked glasses with her. A flash divorce less than 3 months after marriage. The marriage views of the rich are really beyond the understanding of us commoners. I paused. Your father has always hoped that you would find someone from an equal background. Open your eyes wide next time. If you need it, as your little stepmother, I'll help you take a look. I don't have any other skills, but I'm better than you at choosing men. Luna's eyes were filled with anger. I left with a smile. If I only had these means, all the books I've read over the years would have been in vain. The day after Luna and Noah divorced, the police came again. This time, what they want to investigate is a car accident that happened many years ago. Luna is suspected of finding someone to take the blame. Now, the person who took the blame has recanted, saying that he was paid. Hashtag chapter 12 the ending hashtag those who want to perish must first go crazy. Luna has gone crazy. What crushed her is not just a simple case of taking the blame for a car accident. The case was exposed online. It also includes Noah recanting in the detention center, saying that he was instructed by Luna. Luna asked him to give the plan to the designated person, and he just asked for an additional 300,000 yuan. It also includes the servant who was blinded by her many years ago coming forward to speak, saying that Luna is cruel. By the way, she also exposed the cat trampling incident. The daughter of a wealthy family stirs up 1,000 waves. Before Luna is punished by law, she first experiences a wave of social death. There are continuous insults on the internet every day, with overwhelming calls for her to die. Asher is extremely troubled and has been making efforts. He hires top lawyers and top crisis public relations teams across the country, trying to save Luna. Looking at the busy him, I completely don't know how to face it. Whether it's the retraction of the hit-and-run case with a substitute driver, the revelations of the blind servant, or even Noah's reversal, I have had a hand in all of them. Afraid of seeing his disappointed eyes and the loss of love, I left almost like fleeing. Epilogue many years later, in a foreign country. I stand in front of the jewelry store window and see an extremely large diamond ring. Apart from its large size, it is dazzlingly bright. The design can be described as simple. There is a sign below saying, "Not for sale." My eyes suddenly become moist. Once, a narcissistic man drew such a ring on white paper and claimed to be a master. He said that on the wedding day, he would put it on my hand. I missed him. I missed him for revenge. Mummy, what's wrong with you? The little boy beside me pulled up my sleeve. I looked at the mini version of Asher and squatted down. Finally, tears streamed down like rain.